you watched last week's reading vlog, you know that I am kind of going through what the people in the biz call a reading slump. In good news though, I think I officially knocked myself out of the reading slump by doing what I always do to knock myself out of reading slumps, which is just overwhelm myself with reading and literally don't give myself a freaking break. So today I officially finished 3 books. I finished The Golem and the Genie, which is for Secret TBR, so I'll talk about that more in that video when it comes out, and I'll talk about it a little bit in my wrap-up at the end of the month. I started and finished The Reptile Room by Lemony Snicket, which I rated a 4.5 out of 5 stars because I really freaking enjoyed it, but I think that the audiobook experience for this one took slightly away from it because the first time I rated it 5 stars and I physically read it. Reptile Room is the sequel is the second one in a series of unfortunate events where you're following the 3 Baudelaire orphans as they go through a series of unfortunate events after their parents die in a fire. And then the third book I finished was In the Ravenous Dark, which at this point you can already watch my whole entire video where I talk about it. I'll have it linked somewhere. I decided to do a whole entire video on it because I was really freaking enjoying my experience with it. If you don't go and watch that video, I will be talking about it more in my wrap up at the end of the month, but I did end up rating it 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it. There was a lot of pros, there weren't actually a lot of cons. There were a lot of pros and there were just like very few slight, like, okay, I'm just kind of meh about this thing. But overall, really enjoyed, really recommend. Go read it. It's out tomorrow, actually, May 18th. So that just means I think I'm out of my reading slump. I don't fully know. I got to do a lot of reading the second half of this month. Not necessarily to make up for me not reading the first 10 days of May, but mostly because like there are so many books that I need to read in May because of buddy reads and book club books and stuff like that that I just haven't even started or focused on. So I need to be reading the Ruin of Kings. I need to be reading Air Awakens. I need to be reading 3 and 4 of ACOTAR, and I need to be reading Memento this month. And those are like definite things I need to get to. There's also a few other things that I'd really like to get to, but those are kind of on the back burner. So I am going to attempt to read all of Air Awakens this week and a good chunk of The Ruin of Kings. Now this is a 300-page book, so I'd like to finish this by Thursday, which really gives me Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to read it. So 100 pages a day, which isn't unheard of. You know, the pages aren't that bad, and I think I just saw that there were pictures. It's like when the titles change over, you get some kind of like images. That's kind of cool. I will be starting this tonight and trying to make at least a little bit of a dent into it, even if it's just like 20 pages, honestly. I have done a ton of reading today, so I'm not going to be promising myself much of anything because I'm also rewatching The Handmaid's Tale right now and I just want to finish it. I just want to keep going. It's so good. What is my audiobook going to be for this week? I'm really not sure because out of the 5 books I just listed to you, Memento is the only one which I will be listening to. So I could get Memento and listen to it, and that wouldn't be that big of a deal because I think it's like 2 hours long at most, and that could be pretty simple to do. But I don't know if I'm in the mood for it or not. I honestly don't know what I'm in the mood for. I really want to be reading Empire of Sand, but I want to physically read that, and I have the audiobook for it. But then I also bought the physical book because the more I thought about it, I was like, oh, I really just want to physically read this. So I just don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to look at my board and make some decisions. Speaking of my board, let's go flip some tiles. Okay, so since I read 3 books today, that's 3 tiles we get to remove. So I ended up reading for a setting for the Reptile Room because even though they're just like in a greenhouse, I'm gonna be counting that. I know it doesn't count, but I'm gonna be counting it. They also talk about Peru a lot in this book, so I'm gonna count it. This month has been a weird one for me, and normally I wouldn't let myself get away with that ridiculous of a thing, but like, it's been a really weird month, so one more time, I'm gonna count it. Also, I get to remove The Golem and the Genie, or I get to remove adult book for The Golem and the Genie, which means I don't get to flip this one. I'll do that in 2 seconds. I also get to remove LGBTQ plus main character for In the Ravenous Dark because our main character is pansexual and she's in a polyamorous relationship, and she is not the only LGBTQ plus representation in the book. There's also a lesbian main character. There's also a trans main character who is also asexual. Let me just tell you all, this book really got into that alphabet soup and I loved it. Let's flip this tile before I say anything else that I regret and see what else I might be able to read this month. Oh, Does that say new adult book? Oh my goodness, new adult book. Cool, so I'm gonna have to do some thinking on that because there's quite a few new adult books I want to be reading, but I don't know if I can actually get to any of them this month. So that might just unfortunately be something that I don't get to, but I'm really freaking excited that new adult book showed up because I've been really just enjoying a lot of my new adult books recently, and I'm saying the word new adult way too much. I'm just like repeating things back and forth. I feel good after finally getting out of my slump. Also, while I'm here, let's look at how many pages the Rune of Kings is. Oh my god, there's a huge appendix, naming guides, oh my god. Glossary. It's 542 pages if you ignore all of this crap at the back. Don't think I'm gonna be finishing that this week, but I definitely need to make a dent into it before this weekend because this Friday I will be starting Wings and Ruin. I had a little bit of a panic attack the other day, and then instantly when I was calming down from it, I came and filmed. And I think it's really obvious in the clip that that's what happened because I kind of just went off. So I'm going to edit all of that part out, and here's everything that you needed to know from Tuesday. This is such a weird angle, but I think I'm gonna try to make it work for right now because I think you'll be able to hear me a little bit better for these car vlogs. I did start Air Awakens last night, and I read 47 pages. I actually read more than I set out to do. It's, if you're any of the people doing the buddy read with me right now, turn away because I'm about to spoil some things. But it's not what I thought it was going to be. It's very young. It's very YA. It's very stereotypical YA fantasy. I'm not necessarily intrigued or curious. I feel like I already know the entire book before I've even gotten into it. I actually made some predictions on an earlier page in the book. It's nothing special. In other news, I received another arc today that I requested. What was it called? The Dark and the something. I don't remember the name of it, which made me go onto NetGalley, and I realized how many arcs I have out right now. So I went and cleaned up my Goodreads shelves because I do keep arcs in both my owned category and in my pre-order category. So I put them in pre-order if they haven't been published yet, and as soon as they're published, if I still haven't read them, I move them to my owned category. So when I did that, it bumped my owned shelf from, I think it was like 26 books to 32 books, and then my pre-order shelf went from having 9 to I think having 6. It was like 9 and then 11, and then it went down to 6 after I checked for what had been published so far. Today's Thursday though. I didn't film anything on Wednesday because Wednesdays are just hectic days for me. And once again, we are back in my car talking because the only time that I feel like I'm gonna be able to talk to you today is on my lunch break. Maybe I'll talk to you later. I don't know. We'll see. Since that last bit happened, I have DNF'd 2 books. I decided to DNF Air Awakens. I made it 180 pages into the book, and I was reading it for a buddy read, and I hate DNFing buddy reads, but I was hating it, and there was nothing redeeming it, and I had been hating it for about 130 pages. Honestly, from page 1, I knew that I wasn't going to love it, but from page 50 on, I knew that I wanted to DNF it, and I just kept pushing, hoping that something would happen to change my mind, hoping that I could convince myself to keep going. But I talked to one of my friends, and she was like, just stop, just stop, you're miserable, and you're making it worse. The main issues I had with the book: super tropey, super bad YA romance, fantasy romance. The author said in the beginning that she wrote this book never intending to publish it, and it read like that. It fully read like someone's fanfic that they wrote on their computer that they weren't planning on sending out to have anyone else read. There weren't grammatical errors or anything like that, but the sentence structure was super repetitive, and the dialogue was cheesy and bad, and the main character fell into that YA white female protagonist where everyone thinks she's super beautiful and every single man that she meets falls in love with her, but she has nothing going for her. She's quiet, she's awkward, she just thinks that she's not pretty, she has zero confidence, and I was just ugh. And then one of the main love interests, I was really interested in him as a person and as a character because he was really cruel and really dark, but he very quickly made me realize that that's not actually who he was going to be. And I knew going into the book, because he's a love interest, whenever you have a cruel or dark character who's a love interest, they end up having a redeeming quality, or they were misunderstood. They're not really that cruel or that dark. And I get it, I do, but Also, I'm tired of characters not being as cruel or dark as they first appeared to us. So I decided to DNF. What did I say? I was 180 pages in, so I had 120 pages left, and it really sucks that I made it that far, but whatever. I also started and DNF'd A Curse of Roses. I started it yesterday and I listened to, I think it was like 30% of the audiobook. I bought it yesterday because I was just feeling super slumpy and like I didn't want to read anything. So I thought that maybe a good way to get out of that is just to have a completely new book to me. Just don't even read anything I own. Just buy something and read it and enjoy yourself. So I have a radar shelf on Goodreads, which is books that I want to buy next time I am able to buy books. And I decided that A Curse of Roses had been on there for like since December, and it was one book that I was really intrigued by. So I bought it and I started it and then I DNF'd it. It's this story of this Portuguese woman, you know, high fantasy, of course, you know, back in the olden days. She's the queen of, is it a neighboring land? I can't remember where it is. And everything that, not everything that she touches, all food that she touches turns to flowers. And she lives in a land that is starving, and really not many people know about her curse. And she is in an arranged marriage, so she's about to be married. She's engaged to the king of the land, and he doesn't know about her secret, and he wants to keep her from being as charitable as she is. And her like handmaiden or whatever she is tells her about this witch in the woods, that if she goes to the witch can lift her curse. And she goes off to meet the witch. And what's really cool, first off, it is a retelling of supposedly an actual true saint that lived. I don't know any research about this, but the author's note was actually really good. The author's note was great. I really enjoyed that part. The story is an LGBTQ plus story, so you know pretty early on that our main character is not into men. She's into women, but she's kind of not aware of that. So when she goes to find the witch, slight spoiler ahead, to like get the witch out of the witch's circumstances, she has to kiss her, and that kind of like opens up her mind to the idea that she likes women. And it was a really cool concept, but everything moved so fast and felt like it wasn't flushed out and felt like it wasn't a well-developed story. And I felt like there was no motivation behind the actions. Like things just happened because it felt like the author needed them to happen in this book. And I just didn't love it. So I decided to DNF. I'm at the point now where I need to pick up a new audiobook and I need to pick up a new physical book. I am starting Akawar tomorrow, but I also need to be reading The Ruin of Kings for my book club, which, funny story, last week I did a coin flip, and I realized today that the coin flip was between two books that were already on my board. So I need to redo the coin flip because I'm dumb, but also I realized the coin flip card is kind of in a spot where I don't think I'm going to be able to get any bingos from it, so I don't think I'm going to even bother flipping for it, like since I already did one sort of. So I need to read this, I need to read Akawar, and I need to read Aka Silver Flames. I don't know how to how do you say that? Oh my god, A Court of Silver Flames. All before the end of May. So I have, what is it, like what's today? Today's the 13th, and there's 31 days in May. So if you include today, that's like 27, no, that's like 17, 18 days that I have left in the month of May. And you have to include the 31st too in that. So I need to read this, I need to read those two books. They're all pretty big, they're all pretty chunky, but I need to get through all of them. So I think I'm just gonna start this and then slowly make progress on this while I'm reading Akawar and why did she name it that? She could have literally called it, I mean, I haven't read the book yet, but she literally could have called it A Court of Silver and Flames. And then it would have fit with the whole entire theme of the rest of this series. I'm a little bit annoyed right now by this. So I think I'm gonna start this on my lunch break, which I am on. I have just started, and I'm gonna eat, and then I'm probably gonna start this. But I don't have any plans for audiobooks for the rest of the month. I think I've set down Words of Radiance for now. I just don't think I'm in the right mindset. I don't think I'm in the right mood. So maybe one day I'll pick it back up where I'm at, but there's a chance I just read a summary of the rest of Words of Radiance, read a summary of Oathbringer just to remind myself of what happened, and then pick up Rhythm of War. I am home, but it is still Thursday, so I officially started The Rune of Kings in my lunch break earlier, and I will talk about that in just a brief moment. But I did the math finally. So actually, I started out this month based on all of the physical books that I wanted to read. I did the math. I did it in, I think, my first weekly reading vlog of the month. You can actually watch me doing the math in that one. And I needed to read 104 pages every single day. Well, the past few weeks, I have not been reading like anything, mostly because I have just been out of whack. So I decided to take some of the physical books off of my shelf and not worry about them, which brought me down to, at the end of this month, I only needed to read 3 books. The Rune of Kings, I went through this in the car already. We don't need to go through me again trying to mispronounce Silver Flames. So between all 3 of those books, The Rune of Kings is 540 pages, The Court of Wings and Ruin is 700 pages exactly, $6.99, who cares? And A Court of Silver Flames is 750 pages. So I did the math. If you add those all together, it is 1,990 pages. And I have 19 days left if you include today and you include the last day of the month. And when you divide that up, you're not going to believe it, but that means I have to read 104 pages every single day. I don't know how math managed to outwit me on this one, but like literally the amount that I need to read at the beginning of the month and the amount that I need to read halfway through the month is exactly the same. And yet I have not read everything I needed to read, but I have done some reading. So, you know, it is what it is. So I made it to page 30 in The Ruin of Kings. So I am going to keep going. I am definitely getting to page 100 tonight because I am invested. I'm doing my 3-tab system, and I've started using my tabs as my bookmark, which makes total sense to me. Like, why wasn't I always doing this? So my 3-tab system means that I have 3 colors when I tab a book, and they change for every single book. For this book, I'm going to be using this dark red color for love. There have already been a few moments of love, as you can see. I really love Talon. She is amazing. I am using this like mauve pink purple color for important. So any kind of world building, any kind of thing that I feel like might come back later, like maybe I think it's foreshadowing or something like that. You don't always know why I think it's important, but I think that it might be important to the story. So I like to tab it. And then as you can see, I haven't used any of my hate color, but it will be this like ugly kind of fleshy pink color. You know, flesh speaking as of my flesh. So I'm using this end one and these 2, and I think the red is going to go really well with how this book is looking. But yeah, I'm really enjoying myself. I actually have previously started this book. I think it was last year sometime, and I read the first chapter, and I decided that I wasn't in the right mindset for it then. So I put it on pause. Well, I didn't even put it on pause. I put it back on my want to read shelf, and then my book club picked it for this month. So I was like, well, now's the time for me to pick it back up. And I wasn't totally convinced I was in the mood for it again, but I've read past where I was the first time and I'm loving it. So I think I am in the right mindset for it. We are following a story within a story within a story, which is really such a weird concept, but it's so cool. So the first like part of the book, there's almost like a prologue, but I don't necessarily mind because the prologue was literally a paragraph, and that is like a note to the king of the land, which is us, the reader, and it's saying that they have collected all of these stories for you to try to figure out the truth for yourself. And then it opens up into a jail cell, and you're interacting between a guard, who is Talon, and our main character, whose name I don't know if I want to try to pronounce, but Kieran, it's K-I-H-R-I-N, and that's what I'm gonna go with. So the guard tells Kieran that she wants him to tell her a story. So we are reading a note that was compiled by a soldier about this interaction of this jail cell. And then the story that Kieran tells Talon is the actual book we're reading. What? It's like such an odd concept, but right now where I'm at, what's really cool is Talon is this like mythical, magical monster beast creature thing, and she can, it sounds like, transform into the body of anyone she's killed and can basically impersonate them. So we're getting Kieran telling his story. So chapter 1 was literally him telling his story. And then chapter 2 was Talon literally taking the story away from him and being like, no, this is where your story started. And then talking about it as if she was there, because she probably was there, because she can take on the form of anyone. And it's just really interesting. There are footnotes. So the guard who is telling us, the Majesty, the story, puts footnotes in to tell us like what's true and what's lies and to help build the world around it, because we as the reader don't know as much as Kieran and Talon know. But it's really fascinating. I'm really enjoying myself. It's definitely a slow book, but I tend to find if there's enough going on, I don't mind the slowness. Oh my god, today has been an absolute whirlwind. So I woke up this morning not feeling great, and I decided that it was basically time for me to take a day off of work. That I unfortunately started watching some of those like lifestyle videos on YouTube yesterday, and one of them was talking about how, you know, you care so much for your job and for your company, and your company doesn't care for your well-being. Like, they do care for you somewhat, but not to the extent that you care about your job. And it just got me thinking, and I've been feeling so anxious and upset the past few weeks, which a lot of you have been seeing if you've been watching these weekly vlogs. And so when I woke up feeling that way, I said, you know what, it's time for me to take a day off of work. So I called in sick and I stayed home. And fortunately enough, I am in the position that I can take a day off randomly to do that. I know that a lot of people aren't, so I understand that it is like a really tricky situation, but I am really grateful that I'm able to do that when I need to, and that I'm able to look at my life and say, you know what, my own mental and physical health come before worrying about getting my job done today. So I stayed home today, and I was just planning on reading, watching TV, just relaxing. And I have been doing that. I read some of The Rune of Kings, and I did start Akawar, which I will not be talking about at all in this video because you'll be seeing all of that coming out very shortly. But Rune of Kings is going great. I'm really loving it. I think I'm like 100 pages in, and I'm just really intrigued. It's a really slow story. I understand that it's not for everyone, but I'm really freaking loving it. And I'm so curious to know more as I am going. But what I'm really here to say right now is I think it might have been months ago at this point, I did come on to my channel and say that there was something going on in my life that I couldn't talk about yet, but I would be really excited to bring up in the future. And it's time for me to finally talk about that thing. So since December, it is May, yeah. Since December, I have been looking for a place of my own. My lease is up at the end of August, and I basically decided that paying rent was basically paying someone to rob me of my own money. And that if I got a mortgage, which would be about the same amount of my rent, I could have a place of my own, which would be, you know, I'd have more space than I have here because I wouldn't have to be sharing it with someone, and I could, you know, be paying about the same, and I could be living on my own and very comfortably. So since December, I have been looking for a place of my own, and it's been kind of up in the air as to whether or not it was going to actually work out. There was talk about me moving back in with my parents for a few months while we figured some things out. It was just kind of a complicated mess. I've been touring a lot of apartments, which is why I have been really busy and kind of stressed over the past few months. It's part of it. A lot of it is work, but part of my stress has been coming from I've been putting offers down and I've been outbid, or I've been putting offers down and people have been coming in with cash and they have been accepting those offers instead because cash is easier to deal with, and it's just not been a fun time. I can't even tell you how many offers I've put out there, and apartments that were worth $60,000 3 years ago have been upped to 90 to 100,000, and it's just out of my price range, and it's been a lot. But today, this afternoon, I got the call that a place took my offer, and there's 7 days now that, you know, things could fall through, that it won't totally work out, that they can take back, I can take back whatever. It's getting inspected right now. We're making sure that it's actually worth the value, all of that stuff. But I, for the first time since December, have had someone accept my offer, and it's a place that I absolutely love. I fell in love with it when I walked into it, and I'm thrilled to be thinking about moving there. So if it works out, I will probably be in there before July, which is a little bit stressful because that'll be 2 months where I'm paying rent on 2 different places. You know, mortgage and rent, different things, but let's just call them the same thing for right now. It means that I will have my own place, and it's like all I've ever wanted. You know, a lot of people dream of just having their own place and finally. I'm so blessed to be able to have this opportunity. It just feels really, really good. So moving forward, unfortunately, you know, I just got the news, so I can't say anything for sure, but if I remember how moving worked last time, the month that I moved was just pure chaos, and I only worked a part-time job then. So there is a chance that the schedule for my YouTube, being, you know, I post twice a week, is just going to have to change in the month of June and possibly for part of July. I love posting on YouTube, and it's literally the last thing I want to cut out of my life, but it is a huge time suck, and sometimes it's just too difficult to work on when I have all these other things that have to get done. Like, it sucks. I'm loving this. This is part of my passion. This is something I'm really enjoying doing, talking to you guys about books, but it would just be for a month, maybe a month and a half at most, and I would still be posting. I'd still do at least one video a week, but I might just have to have a few less videos in the month of June. In fact, I'm already contemplating canceling my video for this coming Friday because it has a lot of work that still needs to get done, and I don't know if I'm gonna have the time to do it now with all of this chaos in my life. If it doesn't get uploaded, it's not canceled forever. I will just push back all of the videos that I have planned because I do have everything planned out, I think, through August. So everything would just get pushed back a few weeks and you'd still be seeing all of my content. It would just be a matter of I just can't spend the time editing and uploading as much as I would like to. So I'm seeing that I have a lot of phone notifications from my realtor and all that crap that I have to deal with. So this is going to be me closing out the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for subscribing. I'm almost at 200 subscribers, which is crazy because just 2 months ago I was celebrating 100. So definitely after I move, after I'm settled, we will have to do something to celebrate because I'm so baffled, amazed, in awe, grateful that 200 of you have clicked the subscribe button and are at least watching some of my videos every single week. So thanks for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. I don't remember how my outro goes, but until next time, I will talk to you in the comments. Bye.